Hello and welcome back. On this section, which is 4.5, we're going to be solving percent problems. So the same types of problems that we would solve, but we're going to use proportions instead of that. The percent equation. Okay. So our objectives today, we want to translate percent problems into proportions, and we want to solve basic percent problems. So what I have here is we want to translate two proportions, all right? And I'm going to give you the proportion that I'm going to use for all these problems. And the proportion is like this, okay? For every problem, I want you guys to write part in parentheses is over the whole, okay, which is of. And that's going to be equal to the percent over 100, okay? And so remember, to solve proportions, solving proportions means that we have to do the cross product, okay? So solving proportions means, we have to do cross products, okay? Cross product property. And what that means is if I have like A over B is equal to C over D, we cross multiply, and A times D is equal to C times B. All right, and just so we're clear on that, what you're looking for, let's just think of something here where, like 1/2 would be equal to 4/8, okay? Where if you multiplied these across, if you did 1 times 8, that's going to equal 2 times 4. All right, 1 times 8 is going to give you 8. 2 times 4 is going to give you 8. So this is a true statement, all right? Okay, so let's move on, and let's actually use this concept of proportions to solve. And so for every problem, I write this down, okay? I write down this formula. And so I'm going to write down part is over whole, which is of. And that's going to equal the percent over 100. Okay, now on this it says 23% of 5 is what? Okay, and so what I do, I look at the word in front of each letter. Now 23% is going to go here. All right, so when I set up this equation, I'm going to put in my equal sign over 100. My percentage is 23. So I'm going to put that number up here. And I'm not going to, it's my percent. I'm not going to put that into a decimal, okay? I'm just going to use that number 23, okay? And then we're given the of portion. So 23% of 5. Now, of is the whole. So that means that 5 is going to go in this denominator down here is what? And I'm just going to put an x here, okay, for an unknown, all right? So now what we can do is we can solve this equation as a proportion, okay? And it's really not too bad. And we've done this before. So I'm going to do x times 100. So 100 times x is equal to 5 times 23, okay? And so, to solve this, I want to do 100 times x is equal to 5 times 23. 5 times 23 is going to give us 115, I believe. Okay, so we get 115. All right, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 100. Okay, just like we were before. And so I'm going to divide the hundreds out, and I'm left with x is equal to 115 divided by 100. So if I divide that by 100, it's going to give me that x is equal to 1.15, and that's my answer. So 1.15 is 23% of 5, all right? And we can use proportions. And guys, to be honest with you, I don't know if I have a favorite or not. I like this one, but I also like the other one. I think they're both kind of equally, usable. All right. Okay, on this next example, I want to do part is over whole, which is of, and that's equal to percent over 100. Okay, so it gives us the percent. What is 124% of 49? Okay, so I'm going to write out my proportion here. I'm going to put 100 down here. I'm going to put 124 here and make my proportion here. Now, because they give us the of 49, that's going to go down here in my denominator, which is here. Okay, so I'm going to put 49 down here, and then I'm going to put x. Okay, and then I'm going to solve this proportion. So I'm going to do 100x. So 100 times x is equal to 49 times 124. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the math here. Let's do 49 times 124, and that's going to give me 6,076, and that's equal to 100x. Okay, and then let's go ahead and divide everything by 100 and by 100 here. Okay, so that's just going to give us x on the left side. These hundreds divide out, and that's going to equal 6076. 6,076 divided by 100 is 60.76. And that's my answer, and that's what we're looking for. Okay? All right, let's move on. Okay, on this, it says that 3 is 10% of what? All right, so again, let's write out our formula. So we've got part, and that's is, divided by my whole, which is of, and that's equal to my percentage over 100. Okay, so when it says 3 is, okay, the is goes with the 3, and that's my part. So if I set up my proportion here, my 3 is going to go here, my 100 is always going to go down here in the bottom right, and then 10% is going to go up here. So 10 goes there, and then of what? That's what we're trying to find. Now we don't know what that is, so that's where we're going to put our x in the denominator over here. All right, so I've got x here. All right, so now let's cross multiply, and I've got 10 times x. So 10 times x is equal to 3 times 100. Okay, and so if we have we got 10 times x, 3 times 100 is just going to give us 300. Okay, if I divide both sides by 10 and divide this by 10, these 10s divide out, and then you are left with just an x on the left side. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 300 divided by 10, which is just going to be 30. Okay, so our unknown is 30, and that's our answer. Okay? All right, next thing over here, 5% is what is $20. Okay, so again, let's write out part is, okay, divided by whole, which is of, and that's equal to my percentage out of 100. Okay, so my percentage that we were already given is 5. Okay, so I'm going to put that 5% out of 100. And then it says of what? Okay, so when it says of what, you know, it's asking that question. We don't know what it is. Let's do that. Let's put x down here, and then is $20 goes up here in my numerator up here. All right, so I got a 20. All right, so let's cross multiply. I'm going to do 5 times x, and that's equal to 20 times 100. Okay, so then, all right, we're going to do 5x is equal to 2,000. All right, and then to solve this, you know, we're multiplying by 5, so the opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing both sides by 5. Okay, so let's divide that out, and we get x is equal to 2,000 divided by 5. All right, so I've got 2,000 divided by 5, and that's going to give me a value of 400. And that's it. Okay, so it's really not too bad. All right, and so because we're doing 5% of what is $20, okay, that other percent, this needs to be in dollars as well. Okay, try and catch that. If you don't catch it, you know, that's okay, but try and catch it if you can. Okay, on this one, it says 10 is what percent of $20? So let's write out our formula. Part is out of whole, which is of. Okay, and that's equal to my percent out of 100. Okay, so $10 is, that's going to go up here in my numerator on this side. So let's write out our proportion. Put this over 100. Okay, $10 is what percent, okay, of 20. Okay, so of 20 is going to go in the denominator down here. All right, so I'm going to put $20 here. Okay, and what's the percent? So if it's asking for what percent, that's what's going to go here. So I'm going to put my x in for my percent. Okay, so now what I've got, let's cross multiply. I've got 20 times x, so 20 times x is equal to 10 times 100. All right, and so we get 20 times x is equal to 10 times 100 is 1,000. Okay, if I divide both sides by 20 here, okay, then x is going to give me 50, I believe. Should be. 1,000 divided by 20 is 50. Okay, and you guys may be really confident in your answer, but you know what? You know, when all these problems, unless I do them in my head, and then I check them with my calculator. So make sure you guys are doing that. And so x is 50, but this is a percent. X is equal to 50%. Okay? All right, let's move on to the last one. Okay, it says what percent of 50 is 7? So I'm going to do part, and that's is divided by the whole, which is of, and that's going to give me percent over 100. Okay, so to put this in here, it says what percent. Okay, that's my unknown. I don't know what that is. So I'm going to put an x up here over 100, and then it says of 50. So 50 is going to go in my denominator here. All right, and is 7. Okay, so the is 7 part is my part of my whole. All right, so I'm going to put a 7 here. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to do 50 times x, and that's going to equal 7 times 100. Okay, so 50 times x is equal to 7 times 100, which is 700. Okay, if I'm going to divide both sides by 50 to solve for x, okay, these are going to divide out, and I've got that x is equal to 700 divided by 50, okay, and that's going to give me 14. Okay, but remember we're finding a percent, so x is equal to 14%, and we're done. Okay, so not too bad. You know, guys, I think it's a little bit easier than the other one, but it's all about what you're able to do. So we want you to be able to do both, but at the same time, you can choose at a certain point which ones you want to do. Okay, so hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you soon. Let me know if you got any questions. Thanks. Bye.